much do you believe someone can start selling on Amazon? At least how little? Let's say someone with $1,000. Do you think that they could come on Amazon today's market and start becoming profitable?
Yeah. So let me be transparent with anyone. Starting and thriving are probably two very different conversations. Can you start tangibly, feasibly? Absolutely. And if that's all you have, would I say to save up more before starting? No, not at all. To me, you can start with things around your house, retail arbitrage, clearance sections, open the basic Amazon account. I forgot the proper verbiage for it, that you pay as you go. Yep.
Mhm. Oh,
And so you absolutely have to have Keepa. Like, to me, that's non-negotiable. So now we're talking $20 a month out of the gate, probably some supplies and stuff. Let's even be super conservative. You're $300 in on starting supplies and Keepa and maybe one other software. You still have plenty left over to get started. Now, is that going to snowball if that's all you have without outside money or whatever? It's going to take a long time. Yeah. But can you start? Oh, absolutely. No doubt about it.
Right. And I think even with $1,000, I think people just need to see sales going through first. It's easy for us to say because we see sales coming in, but the first newcomer, until they see that first sale on Amazon and know what it's like to get that sale, I think $1,000 might be just how much you need just to get that going. I think after a month, after all the expenses and you start making some sales, then you can look at other avenues of maybe borrowing capital.
Right.
But I think, yeah, high ROI products like on eBay and whatnot, I think you can resell for a high margin on Amazon. Do you do any eBay to Amazon, by the way?
No. So for me, and I actually just had Steve rake in profit. So
Yeah, I
who's
saw that.
like,
Yeah,
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 who's like one of the trailblazers of that.
right.
And to each their own, million ways to do it, right? For me, I like having proper documentation should
Right,
that day come.
right.
And I like selling. To me, I've put it one thing that I think a lot of Amazon sellers can probably understand, because we all have some type of entrepreneurial nature. I'm 35. I've always been entrepreneurial. The shiny object thing is real, right?
Right.
And
Yeah.
so whatever time I spend trying to double down on or taking away from something that is proven and working, I don't have enough time and capital. It's not like to put into online arbitrage beyond pretty much what I'm at. I guess let me step back for a sec. What I'm trying to say is online arbitrage is good enough for me right now, right? It's not like I've hit a point that my margins are losing. I have way more capital and time to spend. Like, I'm kind of at a really good point. So for me, it's like, it's safe. There's invoices. It's working. I like my margins. Good enough for me, type of thing.
Right, right. And just to echo what you said, I think if you're just starting out, for me personally, I wouldn't also go eBay to Amazon just because of documentation. They don't accept eBay
Right.
invoices. I think just grinding it out, going to retail arbitrage and other, used books, even just high ROI purchases like that can really just compound your money.
Yep.
Someone just starting out going that route, for me personally, I wouldn't recommend it. But again, to each their own, right?
Totally.
Okay, so excuse me. I'm going to kind of go more into your business type of questions.
Sure.
First being, what is your primary business model and what categories do you focus in? So OA, wholesale, RA, and what kind of categories?
Yeah, I would say I'm like 95% OA at this point. I still dabble with some retail arbitrage. My start was with retail arbitrage. I did that solely for like 2 years. Then I
Wow.
moved to
Wow.
states. South Florida is where I started, and that is a great hub for RA. It's a very populated, congested area, so there's a ton of stores. When I moved to where I am, not nearly as much, and also I just wanted to get away from that in general. So I did a cold turkey type of move, which has its challenges. But now I'm pretty locked in. 95, I would say OA, a couple RA when it really makes sense. Like, I have a grocery chain here called Ingles. Once or twice a year, they have crazy coffee sales. Coffee is a great product for beginners. Very low return, a ton of multi-packs, variety packs, something that people everywhere consume every single day,
Right.
So that's kind of where I'm at right now as far as broken up.
So that must have been kind of daunting, right? When you moved and realized you had to change your whole business model from RA to OA. What was that like when you first, realized, oh snap, I got to change my whole business model? Is
Yeah.
OA even going to be profitable? There's so much competition there. What was that like?
Major learning curve. I mean, a good example of that, like Amazon might be the same arena, like hosting the Olympics, but there's a million different events
Right.
and a million different types of Olympians, right?
Right.
A top of my head analogy, but you get the picture, right?
Yeah.
So, so anyway, I had the basics down. I understood how Keepa works. That doesn't change, right? I
Mhm.
understood margin and seller count, all these things, but where to source, how much to buy, understanding that price tanks a lot more when you're competing with people buying all over the world versus your local grocery store.
Yeah.
So I absolutely took my lumps. But I remember vividly, just like, I knew that I was basically teaching myself a new business, and I just committed to X amount of time a day. And I'm really glad I did, because now 3.5 years later, I'm really reaping the benefits, but it's not like it was like this for forever, So a
Right.
message to anyone, it takes time, but definitely had some growing pains though.
Right. 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 And just, yeah, just shiny object syndrome is a thing, and then
Yeah.
consistency is what kind of keeps you motivated, right? So when you kind of went into OA, what did you find were your best categories or even your favorite categories?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention that earlier. But
Fine.
so I kind of started off with what I knew. What I knew was grocery, so I kind of
Yeah.
tried to find that. I also did well with vitamins and supplements, and I kind of just took my catalog and then just started saying, okay, well, I've had success with these. Where can I find these online? And now it leads me to new sites and new brands on those sites, and then you get locked in with the sales on those sites, right?
Right.
Stuff like that. Um, and then I really started to appreciate variations, right? And I really liked the consumable nature of grocery, but grocery is a little more challenging with OA. You don't see expiration dates.
Right.
There's not the same value as your local grocery store. So anyway, all that to say, really got locked in, and to this day, grocery still do a little. Uh, Vitamins and supplements I really like.
Mhm.
Very similar to grocery in that it's consumable, it's replenishable, a lot of variety packs, multi packs. A lot of people use them.
Right.
And beauty. And something I love about beauty is A, the high ticket nature of it, B,
Yeah.
variations. I'm very
Yeah.
locked into variations. I think a lot of people probably steer away from that. It's a little intimidating. That's a huge advantage for me, in my opinion. And so those are like my core, but I sell things across all categories. But if I had to narrow it down, that's kind of what I'm locked in with.
Yeah, just to echo what you're saying, the sheer abundance of different categories and brands on Amazon is interesting, right? Like I find myself every day being like, "What is this?" And then they have a sales rank of just so super low sales rank. I'm like, a lot of people must know about this brand too, just every day, right? And
Yeah.
also on your point about supplements, they're all high ticket price items too, which is the best thing about supplements too, because more than likely it's not going to be returned. I don't know if Amazon prohibits returns on those, but
Right.
more than likely it's not going to be returned, and they're high ticket prices, just like beauty. Whereas beauty, there's a slight uptick on returns in my
Yeah.
experience. I don't know if you found that same experience.
Yeah. I mean, I've been pretty lucky in general. Minimal beauty returns.
Really? Wow. Yeah.
Minimal vitamins and supplements. Same, when I think about grocery and that stuff, what I really like about that for the lack of returns is that if I'm a customer and I order a K cup, right, pack, and I know this, like nothing can really be wrong with it unless they have a change of mind or it's
Yeah.
damaged or expired. And even then the ticket price is so low, it's almost not worth the light headache, right?
Right.
Supplements and vitamins are kind of that, just on a bigger ticketed item. Same thing. Nothing could necessarily be wrong with the supplement, right? Or creatine or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same thing with beauty. There's no moving parts. It's like if you do your job and match them up and package them right, or your prep center does, it should be smooth sailing for the most part.
Right. And even if you do get returns, pretty low percentage. Juxtapose that with apparel and shoes, which I kind of came
Right.
in doing. Like there can always be something wrong. I mean, the customer can say there's a little scruff, even though it's like a brand new shoe in
Yeah.
return. And I've
I,
gotten instance Amazon allowed a customer to return a shoe 4 months old, man.
yeah.
Stuff like that happens with shoes
I
and
know.
apparel. But
That,
but you can find really high returns on shoes where you can kind of eat the return
yeah.
restocking fee at times. So it's just, it's kind of like, what will you deal with, what won't you deal with, kind of thing.
Yeah, and let me just go back to, because you mentioned on the high ticket price that like everything, there's pros and cons. What's great is, because people talk about, I could hit my spending budget. It takes a lot less work. So if you buy 10 of something that costs you $40, right? that versus something that
Yeah.
costs you $10, you have to find 40 of them, right? And so that can help you, but at the same time, if that item tanks, for instance, you're tying up a lot more capital on a poor item, right? Whereas if you have bought 8 different things of 5 of each, maybe they're less expensive, so you don't make as much profit per item, but the
Right.
profit margin would be the same, and you're diversifying your risk. And I've kind of started to lean towards that more as I do more and more OA. And because kind of what you mentioned too, every day I do this, and I always feel like there's so much out there. There's
Right.
so much out there. I'm just scratching the surface. Every day I'm exposed to new brands and ideas and sites. And
Mhm.
because of that, I feel much less inclined or rushed to have to spend my money in a certain way.
I totally agree with you. I think one of the reasons I really liked shoes and whatnot, because more than likely they're over $50 each. I'd hit my spending goal much more easier. And when I
Yeah.
started kind of branching myself in the grocery, it was like, you buy 60 units of something and you hardly even hit $100, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's that kind of con to it. But at the same time, if you add the groceries with your shoes, with your beauty, and diversify everything, you don't have all your eggs in one basket. And overall helps your business.
And let me add one more thing to that I've learned. Not only are you diversifying your risk, but it also, for me, let's say now I'm selling 10 different, instead of one thing, and I'm selling 10 different things all across different categories, things I've never sold.
Right.
Inevitably, some of these are going to hit way faster than I could have predicted from a Keepa chart. And
Right.
now I'll go deep on that and look more into that segment, that brand, that site. Whereas with one, you only get feedback on that one, good
True.
or bad, you know?
And you have a competitive advantage now because someone else could have looked at that Keepa and straight away, whereas
Right.
you found that you're selling more than the Keepa initially even told you. So those
Yes.
test buys and your own data is monumental over just Keepa data.